Hey folks, Donald Trump has won the election and we can all relax because he's going to fix everything. Well, you may want to turn away from prepping, but not me. We still live in a really dangerous world where a lot happens every day. And unfortunately, as you well know, Donald Trump has inherited a big mess. So I'd like to share with you my top 10 reasons for prepping in 2017. My number 10 reason for prepping in 2017 is independence and legacy. By independence, I mean that if I stay here at the house, I'd have just about everything I need or could make just about everything I need. What do I mean by legacy? Well, life lessons. What I've passed on to my daughter, what she's learned from me, she'll be able to carry those lessons with her through life, to have that knowledge as a weapon or a tool for herself, no matter what lifestyle she chooses to lead in the future. How much of the knowledge of our grandparents has been lost over the years? The number 9 reason for me to prep in 2017 is government oppression. Now, some random person clicking on this video and seeing government oppression might not understand, but I know most of you understand what I'm talking about and understand that we just missed a bullet. This was close to the top of my list last year and would have been at the top of my list throughout Hillary, Stalin, Clinton presidency. Don't ever disregard government oppression and think that it can't happen here. Democide, death by one's government, was one of the largest killers of people in the 20th century, with fully 262 million people killed by their own government over the course of that 100 years. Number 8, natural disaster. Natural disasters are always going to occur and tend to only have a regional impact. I'm fortunate to have chosen an area that does not suffer much from tornadoes or hurricanes or earthquakes, etc. But heck, just last month we had wildfires getting close to us. So this is something that you may always need to deal with, and whether it's bugging out, bugging in, or just dealing with the aftermath, this needs to be on your list also. Number 7 is a man-made disaster. Industrial accidents, port accidents, rail car accidents, refinery accidents occur all the time throughout the world. Do you remember Bhopal, India? Horrible accident. If you live near a port city, huge tankers containing compressed natural gas or other volatile items pull into there every day. Item number 6 is civil unrest. With Black Lives Matter and other groups, you've seen them evolve and change tactics. So now that they are ambushing police, they are blocking off interstates, and I think this is going to be a continuing phenomenon throughout the Trump presidency, especially since a good deal of it is funded by George Soros. Number 5, terrorism. Terrorism is a real threat, and attacks continue to occur in North America and Europe. Did you ever ask yourself, what if 100 terrorists attacked across the country at the same time? Or 300 or 500? It just wouldn't take that much coordination. What kind of mayhem would it create? Number 4, pandemic. We've all seen the movies where there's a zombie outbreak or the Ebola-like variant, but in reality is that it might just be the plain old flu that could once again take out a large portion of the population of the earth. At any given time, there are scores of epidemics going on throughout the globe, and it just takes the right set of circumstances for it to become a pandemic. It's not a matter of if, but when. Number 3, EMP, solar flare. An EMP attack would be seen by a rogue nation such as North Korea or Iran as a great equalizer, especially if they could use several weapons at the same time launched from cargo ships. a large enough solar flare would have the same effect. The result would be a total grid shutdown, a total destruction of every fine electronic item that you have, and plunging us instantly back into the 19th century. Number 2, financial collapse. We have the lowest labor participation rate since the 1970s. There are 95 million Americans out of the labor force. This has been the worst economic recovery since the 1940s. We've got the lowest level of home ownership since the 1940s. There are almost 13 million more Americans on food stamps. 43 million Americans are living below the poverty line. 1 out of every 5 families has no one in the workforce. 1 in 6 men ages 18 to 34 are either incarcerated or not in the workforce. And President Obama has somehow managed to accrue more national debt than the 43 presidents that came before him. And one item that is not spoken on very much is the delicacy of a worldwide economy. So it's all very interwoven now. This whole financial system that's sitting on fiat currency and unsupported debt is just a powder keg waiting for a spark. And my number 1 reason for prepping in 2017 is cyber warfare and hacking. I'd like to recommend to you, and I'll put a link down below, an article in the New Yorker magazine called The Big Hack. And it basically lays out in a fictional scenario massive hack of New York City. I don't think this article even scratches the surface. All the time, 24 hours a day, all the great nations of the world, ourselves included, are probing each other. The reason that this is such a powerful weapon and may be so easily used on a massive scale is that it's very hard to attribute. What can this affect? This can affect everything. This can affect the car that you drive. This can affect spillways at dams, traffic lights, dispatch systems, air traffic control, pipeline control, ATMs, processing of credit cards, computer access as a whole, your communications, your power grid. All are connected to the internet in one way or another. The hack that occurred, I believe it was on October 21st of 2016, and those companies had denial of service attacks based through that server, and I think it was more an experiment than anything else. If a hack is big enough, it can throw a country into chaos. When we used to think of strategic warfare, we think of nuclear war. Now strategic warfare would most likely start with massive hacking attacks to throw the opponent out of kilter without actually taking credit for the attack. That'd be step 1. If that didn't do the job, the next thing would be satellite warfare to grab the high ground, wipe out communications and navigation. For strategic warfare, there are a lot more options than there used to be 20 years ago. Hey, while I was researching this, I found out something that might be useful to you. Some banks will still offer a passbook savings account. Now, for those of you that don't know, this is the way that savings accounts used to be run. You used to carry your passbook, which was about the size of a passport, to the bank, deposit or withdraw your money, and they would take your book and print in it. They usually had a machine, but further back they would even do it handwritten, and they would credit or debit your account right then and there. So you had the proof in that passbook of what was in your account. This might be a good hedge for some of your savings, a good hedge against that EMP. Well, there are my top 10 reasons. I'd love to hear yours, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks for your time. Merry Christmas, and stay safe.